Good morning, everybody, and welcome for this new webinar led by Alpega. I'm Benoit Grubert. I'm working for Alpega, and I'm Vice President of Product Marketing for TMS Business Unit. Today, I'm with Leandre Boulez. Hi, Leandre.
Hello, everybody. Leandre Boulez. I'm partner of Diagma, consulting company specialized in logistics here based in Paris, France.
Thanks a lot. So today the purpose we have is to discuss more in detail why we believe you need to engage or potentially you need to improve the digitalization of your transportation management processes. And we will give you some tips how you need to engage, what kind of benefit you can have with this kind of engagement, or potentially where you need to improve something from your logistic, I would say, processes. But just before to start, quick things. Everybody will be in mute, by the way, but you can use the question button you have on your side to ask some question, and we will answer to your question at the end of the webinar, obviously. We will record the session, so you can obviously review this one because we will send to you a link for the replay. And we will have sometimes a survey when you can answer to the question, and we will see finally the result and see where you are in terms of, I will say, digitalization. So we will have 40 minutes in terms of speech, and after we have 10 or 15 minutes in terms of Q&A session, and feel free to ask your question through the question button you have, okay? So today I'm here with Leandre, and Leandre will give you a quick overview about who is Diagma, obviously. But just before to start, let's start with a quick question we have. So you can use finally the button, the pool. You will have some pools. You have 3 questions you can answer and submit, and we will see what's happened. So let's do it, and let's take 2 minutes to answer to this kind of question. Okay, go to the pool button on your right. Answer to the question, submit vote.
The poll button is on the bottom right of the screen. So it also helps the last comers to join us. I guess most of us have now answered these 3 questions rapidly.
Okay, does it work for everybody?
Okay, we already have 10 votes now. So don't hesitate. Another 1 or 2 minutes for the last voters.
Okay. So by the way, you can continue to answer to the question during the webinar if needed, so don't worry. So let's start. Let's start now with the agenda we have. So obviously, I will just do a quick reminder about the key challenges you are faced I think it will be not a strong surprise for you, but I think you are faced with many challenges. And we will go after in deep dive with Leandro about transportation management, which is a strong part of logistic processes, by the way. And we will start also, and we will discuss more in deep dive about the key point you need to engage to start the digitalization of your transport management processes. We will give you some pitfall to avoid when you start something or when you would like to improve something. And obviously, I will give you a quick overview about how Alpega TMS platform can support finally your transportation management processes. But let's start today with a short introduction about finally the key challenges you have. So I know there is many challenges, and we know that finally your job it's not so easy because you are really at the heart of the supply chain things. Potentially, sometimes there is a complexity you need to solve. Sometimes there is a lack of visibility you need to solve in terms of reporting, in terms of current status of your shipment. Sometimes you need to work a little bit more about to standardize the process you have. Sometimes there is a lack of collaboration with the other department from production, from I would say warehouse management things. Obviously, sometimes you need to focus more about the customer expectation and be sure you can deliver on time because finally customer satisfaction is the key things your company would like to focus. Sometimes you are faced with some disruptions. We know there is many crises around the world who can impact finally your supply chain and your processes. Sometimes it's more about energy. So there is many finally challenges you are faced today in terms of logistics and certainly in terms of transportation management things. But nevertheless, on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, on a yearly basis, your goal is to try to solve this one, to manage this one, and to finally improve everything in terms of logistic processes and especially in terms of transportation management processes. So let's start now more in deep dive with what we are looking for transportations. Leon, the floor is yours. But you are on mute. So
yes, I'm on. Sorry. Thank you very much, Benoit. I just switched off, so I'm on now again. Thank you very much for giving me the floor. So yes, transport is evolving and transport management is also evolving similarly in a way. Just a very brief element, just as I said, Yagma, we're a consulting company specialized in logistics, supply chain management at large. About 50 years of existence. We're based in Paris. We have some subsidiaries in the US and in Brazil and some partners here and there in Poland and in Germany, so in different locations. We're an independent firm with altogether approximately 40 consultants from partners to the Youngs. And we were elected one of the best supply chain management consulting firms in France in the past years. So we do a lot of projects regarding transport, tenders, TMS, change in operations, review of contracts with transport companies for our clients. And I will focus on some elements regarding the transport market that have an impact on how you digitalize and why you should digitalize your transport operations. First of all, you most probably all know this. At least what I will say is valid for Europe. It may differ slightly in the different other regions in the world. But in Europe, we clearly see that more and more transport is not a commodity as such anymore. Years ago, it was relatively easy to find a service provider when you needed it. It is less and less the case. The shortage of drivers is becoming a structural issue in Europe. I think there was a poll recently that said that like 400,000 to 500,000 truck drivers are missing on the European market, and that is a key issue. It means that if you want to have a good service level from your transport service providers, you need to make them loyal to you, and be loyal to them more and more. So that has a very strong impact in the relationship and how you manage the exchange of information with your service providers. Also, two big challenges that are more in front of us. So again, shortage is already a real issue, but the energy transition in transport is key. There is a high motivation of everyone, especially the politics, to move to non-greenhouse gas emission transport, most probably electrical. Nevertheless, the production of electric trucks is not in line with the need. So there will be most probably a shortage of these means of transport, of electric trucks in the future. So if you really want to move this way, you need to secure your transport service providers that they are able to invest in these means of transport. And the third point is the regulations become more and more stringent in Europe. You know, all these low emission / no emission zones that are put in place in most large cities in Europe. So it becomes more and more difficult to literally enter a truck in these cities. So same thing, you need to prepare, you need to work with your transport service providers to make sure that you still can give the service to your clients with your transport network. So in front of this, in order to be really efficient in your process, we clearly see that digitalization is key because it gives you eyes and ears on what happens on the floor, literally. Without a strong digitalization, you don't know what happens. You ask your service providers to transport for you, to deliver for you, but you will not be able to see the results immediately. You will not be able to manage it properly and to negotiate properly with your transport service providers. So really it goes through, and I will quickly jump to all elements. It goes from source and negotiate your transport, so know your service providers, get more information on them, know the level of quality of their operations for you in the past, and decide to change or secure contracts with these providers. Also, we see more and more clients who are developing a control tower to have a holistic view of the situation real time and be able to understand the short-term issues as well as the long-term issues they face with their transport network. And of course, in execution, be able to share track and trace elements with your clients and your stakeholders at large, not only your external clients, the ones you deliver the goods to, but also your internal clients, your industrial, if you're a manufacturing company, the manufacturing team, the commercial team, so all your internal teams. So all these elements, the fact that on one hand, the transport market is becoming more and more constrained, and the fact that you need to share this information with all stakeholders, push for digitalization of these activities around the transport management. And again, as I said, it goes really all the way down or up, because you can start from the top or start from the bottom of the pyramid. Strategic level, as I said, sourcing the right transport service providers, negotiating with them, managing the contract is key to get loyalty from them and get clarity and transparency as much as possible on these strategic elements. At tactic level, build a transport scheme, forecast your operations. It's key to give visibility to your service providers if you want them to be loyal to you. If they don't know what to do for you, then they will go to other clients and you will be short of transport. Of course, during the operational phase, when you activate the transport plan, it's also key. You can still optimize it, change things, and then you will be able to follow the invoicing process, make sure that the invoices you receive are in line with what was expected, or even pre-invoice which is basically give your transport service providers the information on what you accept to pay for the service you receive, based on the structure of the price grid that was agreed with them in the strategic and tactic phases. And again, at execution level, the bottom level here in the pyramid, but the very down-to-earth level, share, track, and trace real time with your service providers, so you can share it with your clients and stakeholders, manage all the documentation. There's more and more documentation, whether you're delivering domestic or international. And of course, it's a very efficient way to share them than to have them fully digitalized, no more paper. We still see a lot of companies who manage documents on a paper form, and we think that this will disappear very rapidly in the coming years. And if there is a claim also, and it happens, we all know that from time to time, manage the claims rapidly and efficiently can also be done through a digitalized claims. So you see altogether moving from a paper-based, Excel-based system to something more holistic, more efficient, more real-time is a key driver to success in managing your transport operations. Maybe Benoit, you can add up on this.
No, I will obviously fully agree with this one, and I think if we are looking finally the different level of transportation processes you need to improve or you need to digitalize, I think it will really depend about your maturity. Sometimes you need to focus more about execution because it's a good start, and sometimes you need potentially to review something in terms of strategic element by sourcing or review or finally your contract management. But what we are seeing, and this is certainly also the lesson learned after the webinar, is by the way, doing everything in parallel sometimes could be very complex. So one of the things you need to discuss or you need to choose is where I need to focus. Do I need to focus more about operational things and execution things? Do I need to engage more tactical things, or do I need to rethink finally something in terms of strategy? But everything, it should be super important when you are looking at the challenge we have all together. So I think it's a really good overview about where you can make the difference by digitalize your transport, I would say, processes. But let's go in deep dive, Leon.
Yes, absolutely. So really, when you want to start this journey, and I see from the poll now that many of you have already started this journey to digitalization, because the poll says that 70% of you have already started a TMS project. So it's good, great. So maybe we have some questions and some feedback in the end. But clearly, we wanted to emphasize on a few key points when you start this journey, or when you go through it to digitalize your operation, your transport operations. So the first thing is really define your needs. What part of this pyramid is key for you? Where do you get the best return on investment from this pyramid? Is it more strategic, short term for you to get a better negotiation process with your transport providers because you use tens of them, even sometimes more? We manage some very significant tenders here for some of our clients in France with potentially hundreds of transport service providers in the loop, in the tender. Of course, then you need a strong system to manage this. Some other just use one transport service provider for everything. So then maybe the negotiation process, the tender process is more simple. On the other hand, track and trace is also a key element for some of your clients. For some clients, it's even a feature that's non-negotiable. So how do you manage this information? How do you get the service? So first of all, define your needs. Go through the pyramid internally and try to measure which types of return you get from investing in a system. Then, of course, define the priorities. You will not do everything at once. So again, you can start from the top, you can start from the bottom, you can start from the middle of the pyramid. Everything is possible, but you just need to clarify your priorities with your stakeholders internally. Again, we see basically 2-3 trends. One is really starting with the tenders, doing yearly tenders for all or part of the transport network. When it changes, when you have to adapt it, is probably a good way to start. The easy thing typically with a tender is that it's a standalone process, whereas, for example, automating the transport orders, the creation of transport orders needs probably some more integration with your ERP, which might be slightly more complex, but eventually is also a good priority. So set this scene. Of course, depending on the organization of your company, we see some of our clients who have, between the different divisions, very different processes in place, because there are processes built on history of the people operating, history of the documents shared. So one of the key elements, if you're in this situation that you have several divisions involved in the project, is harmonize first. If you don't harmonize, the project may become too complex and less efficient. So that's key. So align your different divisions on the same set of transport management processes is key. All this will allow you, when you will start to search for a tool to support the process, all this will allow you to clearly specify your need. So what are my processes? What are the processes I want to digitalize? Describe them in a complete way, an easy to understand way. So when eventually you will launch the tender to choose the solution, you will compare different solutions. And here it's key. It's key for TMS, or it's key for any other information system, for any other digitalization process. You really need to understand if the different providers of these systems will cover your needs. And you may have specific needs, specific traceability needs, specific document management needs. They need to be clarified here. So when you launch this search, you're very clear with which you search after. And we think that now the market is, I would say, there is a lot of solutions available on the market, small, mid-size, large, depending on the structure of your company, structure of your needs. Developing internally is always an option. That's something we have done in the past. I myself have developed 20 years ago a full traceability system internally because there was no tool available as such on the market. But we think now this is not the trend anymore. Really, the trend now is towards using tools from the market on a SaaS or on premise is really a choice with your IT team. So really, these five steps are key in starting or continuing your journey if you have already part of it covered, but you need to cover other aspects of the digitalization process. So maybe at this point, Benoit, do you have questions, or is it clear enough?
No, I think it's clear enough. I think it's really clear enough.
So what we see in terms of benefits from digitalizing your process. So first of all, maybe a little bit about the map. Again, we said from sourcing to invoicing. Here you see the main processes that will always take place, and that actually always take place in your processes today. Again, whether they're digitalized or not, they're Excel-based or paper-based, they exist. You will have tenders one day or another. You will use a freight exchange platform. You will have your framework of carriers that work for you, and so on down the road towards eventually the invoicing process. So all these steps exist. They exist in your organization. It's just how you make them efficient and more efficient over time. What we see actually is just taking some examples of key modules or key actions you can digitalize. Using a tender platform for your transport, especially when you use a large number of carriers, is really an interesting feature. We see when we conduct tenders, and we conduct a significant number of tenders every year for our clients, we see a gain today, even with companies who have regularly done tenders. When they really build on an efficient tool, we can gain 3 to 6% average on transport costs. It can be even more in some cases, but when the tender was not that recent, or when it was less adapted, because we can these tools can adapt very thinly the tender process for transport. So that's a good start again, because the benefits can be quite significant rapidly. We see return on investment on tenders very often less than 3 months. So it's really quick to get a return on this module. The second type of benefit you get when you digitalize is optimizing your flow. When you have flows with different transport in series, or when you can coordinate several flows in the same transport operation, increase the load rate, that is really key to reduce the cost of transport. Again, it's not applicable to all sorts of companies, but in many cases, we see significant benefits here too. Let's say 2 to 5% of transport costs, sometimes more. So we coordinate volumes to make sure trucks are as full as possible. That is the second step. The third module is obviously just automate what is done today with paper and Excel spreadsheets. A lot of your process can be automated. They're relatively low value added. Automating this is just a direct benefit in reducing the cost of operating transport. And in this, we see generally the cost of operating a transport, so your internal team and the adherence with, internal transport team and the adherence with the other operational team in warehousing or in manufacturing are key. In general, we see that the total cost of operating a transport, not the price of the transport itself, but the total cost, is generally 5 to 10% of the transport cost. And you can reduce it by 25 to 50% by automating these low value added tasks. So in total, based on your transport costs, you can gain from 1 to 4%. So you see, doing all of this is really a significant impact on the total cost of transport. And the fourth module, or the fourth type of functionalities that you will need in the future, at least in Europe, clearly it is required, or it will very soon be required by the regulations, is measure and reduce your greenhouse gas emissions. So how you measure this very precisely, how you push your transport service providers to support this reduction of the emissions, that is clear, and you will need to follow this up very carefully. Here, the impact is not as such on the cost of transport as just on the capacity to respect and to follow the requirements of the regulations. So clearly, a lot of functionalities that will help you significantly improve your operations, your transport operations, when they get digitalized.
Thank you, Leon. And I think it's really interesting, by the way, this last slide, because sometimes many of you have some difficulties, by the way, to prove or to do some, I will say, business case to invest a little bit more on your digitalization, or to implement something for your transport processes. So I think it's also a good view and a quick things you can use, by the way, to push and finally to leverage the fact that something should be digitalized. And I think it's a good way, and it's a good advice you can use if you need to sometimes design also your own business case and present this one to your, I will say, N+1 or something like that. We know, and sometimes when we are discussing with many of you, one of key things which is usually a little bit, I will not say complex, but a little bit difficult to engage, is to give some numbers or some key benefit why you should invest on a special, I will say, digitalization of your transportation management processes. So it's really a good example and really pragmatic example where sometimes, according finally to your organization and to your goals, where you can make some difference. But I suppose, Leon, when we have a view and when we know where we would like to engage digitalization or improve digitalization of transportation management, there is usually some pitfall to avoid.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, of course. Again, it's quite a journey. This project, digitalizing the whole process. So there are some elements you should really be cautious about in this project. First of all, it's key to have a project team, especially a dedicated project manager. We see too many clients who start a project without a project manager. It's not only in TMS and transport digitalization, but at large. And then the project is way more difficult because no one is really invested in the project. Again, you have a transport team, you have a transport manager, most certainly, maybe some of you are transport managers. It's very difficult to, at the same time, follow day-to-day operations with your transport team, make sure you deliver, make sure the service is given to your clients and your stakeholders, and manage a project. So as much as possible, dedicate a project manager a significant, if not full-time, a significant share of his time, and clearly secure this availability of your project manager so she will be able to drive the project. First, that's really key. Second pitfall is know your IT situation, your map your IT solutions. Know exactly where you sit your TMS, or where your solutions will fit in your IT map. Some functions are standalone, so they don't need to interface, or they less need to interface with your ERP, for example. Some are not. You really need to understand that when you start or before you start your process to digitalizing transport operations. So map your IT, understand exactly. Of course, we need full involvement from your IT team. We see also regularly operational team or transport teams or supply chain teams who start the project without having involved their IT team enough, and then issues come along and it delays the project. Clearly, don't try to go too quickly. It takes time to change. You need to really secure the environment, make sure that everyone is in line with the project and is motivated by the project, and go step by step. Don't try to implement all functions at the same time. So depending on the return on investment analysis we mentioned before, you really drive step by step. We think that altogether implementing significant modules for your transport digitalization takes approximately a year. So don't try to do it in 3 months. Some things can be done in 3 months, like purely the transport tender. But if you want to have a certain coverage, basically schedule something about a year. You don't need much more than that either, unless you're a very complicated company with a lot of divisions, a lot of people to involve. That may take a little more time. But generally, we say 6 months to a year is a good time frame. One key element also, you're not alone here. Your IT, your supply chain team, so the internal teams, it's clear, but involve your carriers. Nothing will happen without them. You need to understand where they are, how capable they are of integrating these solutions in their own systems or interfacing with their systems. So clearly involve them from the start. Maybe some of them, if you have hundreds, maybe take a fraction of them at the start, but be sure that it meets your needs, but it also meets their needs. If they don't understand why you do this, they will not collaborate efficiently. So that is a very clear message too. And again, don't hesitate to get external support. It's probably new to you when you start. People have done it before, so find the right people, the right solutions. Consultants exist on these aspects. All sorts of consultants in all sorts of geographies are present on this market. So don't hesitate to get external support. It generally makes your journey more efficient because again you will avoid these pitfalls. So that's pretty much the key pitfalls we see when we manage projects or when we are asked to help a client who has started a project and is having difficulties, which happens from time to time.
Thank you, Leon.
Well, I'll give it back.
Very useful insight. And I think before to ask to your question, let me just give you a quick overview how finally a TMS platform as Alpega can support finally your digitalizations. Just one thing when you are looking this one, when you know what we would like to finally digitalize, etc. There is something you need to think in terms of objective. So there is, I will say, three kind of maturity level you need to understand before to start something. And you need to think about where you are and what you would like to do, and finally where you would like to be. Sometimes, so there is, I will say, three key areas in terms of digitalization and in terms of what you need to do and what could be your goals in terms of transportation management processes. So first one, the first level we are seeing on the market, which is between 1 and 3 levels, depending on your complexity. By the way, it's focusing and starting with everything in terms of execution and collaboration. And when I saw a slide from Leon, which was about the level of the digitalization you can use, and you can try to do something, you can engage something here, you can develop something here. It's super important to know where you are and what you would like to achieve. If you don't have any things, you need to start with execution and collaboration things. Obviously, if you have already some dedicated maturity because you have already started the digitalization, potentially you have already a solution, or you have a hybrid model using a logistic provider and a solution internally, and you would like to achieve finally and get more maturity on your transportation management processes with level 4 and 5, depending about where you are. By the way, the focus would be more about optimization, dynamic planifications, and something like that. Okay, and at the end, obviously, which is certainly the dream of everybody, and especially for head of supply chain, by the way, it's to have a fully cross-company optimization in terms of supply chain, not just in terms of transportation management, but also in terms of supply chains. But nevertheless, if nothing is done in terms of transportation management, you will have not a super supply chain optimization across the company. So based on this one, you will be faced to, I would say, dedicated models you can use. Sometimes you need to use a TMS platform. Sometimes you can use just a logistic provider. Sometimes you can have a hybrid model, which is relatively interesting, etc., etc. And you need to define, by the way, according to the level of maturity you are and you would like to achieve, what will be the best things to engage. At Alpega, obviously, we are fully convinced, by the way, that engaging and implementing a TMS platform could be super useful. And this is what we are proposing from Alpega side with our Alpega TMS platform. So I'm not talking about a solution. I'm talking about really about a collaborative platform. Because when I'm looking finally where you are, many people are already implementing a solution, which is pretty good, but 30% didn't start. So potentially you need to think about it. And secondly, when I'm thinking about collaborations, we know and we have already knows from Leon's speech that it's everything is related to the collaboration. Internal collaboration, obviously, but also external collaboration with your key stakeholder and usually with your carrier, who will finally transport the delivery you need to deliver. So What we are proposing from Alpega, it's really a collaborative platform where you can manage all the level in terms of complexity for your transportation management processes. Start very quickly with the essential functionalities as tactical planning, operational planning, first network optimization, or first network onboarding, by the way, spot sourcing, shipment execution, and manage your freight cost management. In one solution, you can do everything. Obviously, if you would like to engage more strategic sourcing, if you would like to engage tendering things, which are really important when you are sourcing, when you are managing your contract, you can do it with a special freight tendering solution, which is fully integrated to the solution or can be also used as a standalone solution if you have already, I will say, already a TMS platform. So really the goal from this kind of platform is to be able to manage any kind of transportation management processes you need to manage, depending about where you need to focus. If it's more in terms of execution and collaboration, if it's more in terms of dynamic planification, dynamic load optimizations, if you would like finally also to have a full visibility about your carbon emission, everything can be done in one and unique platform. And this is what we are providing from Alpega, obviously, with, I will say, different bundle. So the goal, as we see, when you would like to digitalize some dedicated processes, it's not to do everything in one time. Okay, you need to start with the essential, I will say, processes, but you need also to think about where you would like to be in 2 years or 3 years or 5 years. And that's why we are fully convinced, by the way, to start with a scalable solution, means using a part of the solution, but after step by step, knowing that you can add something, you can use a new functionality, you can focus more about some dedicated topics, could be very interesting when you are facing to the choice of one solution. And this is exactly what we are providing from Alpega. It's really a scalable solution. Start with the essential things, engage more, I would say, optimization, do many things. If you would like to do some tendering, if you have also some, I would say, dock scheduling issues with your warehouse management, for example, should be very interesting and fully integrated in our dedicated TMS platform. Obviously, I don't want to go more in deep dive and do a demo. You can have some demo if you would like to do, but my main focus was things about where you need to go, where you need to start, where you would like to go, where you will be in 5 years, and do finally, according to your maturity, the right choice. And what we believe here, the right choice should be to have something which is really collaborative and really scalable. And this is absolutely what we are trying to propose to the market today. So if I need to conclude, by the way, this webinar, because we are pretty on time and we don't want to have more time for this one. In few words, if I need to conclude something, first of all, when you digitalize something, potentially you will optimize. So, and we are pretty sure, and we give you to some dedicated example where you can optimize and when you can save some dedicated logistic cost, which is at the end, to be honest, also a key goals when we digitalize something, and especially transport processes. Secondly, obviously, you need absolutely to check where you need to reduce the manual work, because you will mitigate finally and eliminate some dedicated mistake. And digitalization can finally eliminate a lot of mistakes you are doing, or you know it's happening. Obviously, and step by step, it's becoming more and more mandatory for everybody, according to the regulation laws we have at European level, at the country level. Have a full view about your carbon emissions, have some reports, engaging reduction. It's becoming really, really essential today. So you need to start to do something. The first things, obviously, is to have the first report, the first visibility about where you are, and step by step, where you can finally engage specific things in collaboration with your stakeholder, and usually with a carrier, where you can, by the way, improve something. And obviously, at the end, if you have some agile and standard processes fully digitalized, you will certainly improve the efficiency and improve also the productivity you have across your business. So it's really important to understand that finally, transport is really a key thing in your supply chain things, and more you engage in digitalization, more you standardize everything in terms of processes, more you will be more able to react very quickly according to the disruption you will be faced to, because we know at the end, in our world, in our business world, we know that we will be faced with the disruption. So be ready. Uh, Potentially have the capability to simulate something. It should be also very interesting from your processes. So my recommendation, but I think certainly Jagma recommendation also, start something. If we didn't start with the essential things, execution and collaboration. If you have already started something, see where you can finally optimize something, by the way. Add some dedicated new functionalities if you have already a solution, etc., etc., etc. And this is for me the last things we can discuss all together. Thanks for your attention. I think we can ask to you question. If you have some question, use the question button on your right.
Yes, already one question here regarding the reporting of carbon emissions. Just as an example, we see more and more historically the initial, I would say, reporting that was created on the platforms a couple of years ago was based on what we call standard emission measurement. So standard emission measurement means basically a truck standard emission, a truck use a semi-trailer, for example, would consume 31 liters of diesel per 100 kilometers. We know that 1 liter of diesel produces a certain amount of CO2 and so on. So it was standard calculation. Now we see more and more platforms that deliver real information, so precise information about which trucks you used, which ship you used, and depending on the quantity of your goods that were loaded on the truck or on the ship, the platform will calculate the detailed production emission of CO2 for your transport. It's quite efficient and quite accurate for sea freight, because obviously the calculation is, for one container out of X containers present on the ship, you can make the division and the calculation process. It's very accurate for dedicated road transport. It's a little less accurate for carriers, for parcels delivery, because obviously your parcel is in the middle of a set of other parcels, and the ratio of the CO2 emissions per parcel can change depending on if they're based on weight of parcels or volume of parcels. So there's still some tricks here, but more and more real emission is measured and not only average standard emission. So depending on your goal in your company for your journey towards reducing emissions, you will have more and more information from these platforms.
Thank you, Leon. Another question we have on chat: what is the leverage cost to have Alpega TMS system? I think it's for me. But it's an easy question and sometimes it's a difficult question, by the way. So I think it will really depend about what you would like to start. By the way, if you would like to start with essential functionalities to execute your shipment, to have a view about your transport order, to plan your transport order, to have the first view about your cost management, invoice something and consolidate something, and to onboard finally your carrier. Because I think one of key things we are providing also, it's your carrier fully onboarding on the solution. Okay. And you can start very quickly in 3 months, for example. So price will be not super expensive for this one. If you are already some dedicated maturity and you would like to engage a new step in terms of maturity, by the way, and you need to have more functionality, including tendering things, including finally real-time visibility, because you have already a provider and you would like to combine everything. If you would like potentially to manage also your dock, it would be a little bit expensive. So it's complex things. The answer will be really according to where you are today. and what you need today. So that's why I cannot give you special numbers. But one thing, we create a special things to start in 3 months for the essential, I will say, functionalities you need to start to digitalize. And after, step by step, you can continue.
We see here one question. Do you have any suggested solutions for multi-port freight sourcing? So I guess we talk about here sea freight operations. So really, there are 2 trends in sourcing sea freight operations. One is to go through a forwarding company that will be able to provide you with all sorts of origin destination lines in the same contract, under the same process. If you have enough volume, enough number of containers on a certain line, but it's really quite large numbers, definitely above several thousands TEUs per year on a certain line, then you can go to direct sourcing with the shipping companies, with the carriers. But so it's really the two trends we see. So depending on the size of the activity of our clients, we may use both. Of course, the integration of your TMS here will be done with your forwarder, because most of our clients use a forwarder as or an agent to source this process.
Last question.
No. Same question. Next question from the same person. Is there any online solution or only Excel sheets for multi-port RFQ? No. We do at Jagma. We do for several clients large sea freight tenders with a solution online as is. So I'm sorry to say it's not with Alpega because the client has a contract with another TMS for sourcing, so for negotiation tenders. But we use a dedicated tender, and it's a very efficient process. And when we talk about a major player on sea freight with tens of thousands of TEUs per year, so very significant volume. It's really multi-destinations, multi-origins, multi-destinations throughout the globe, and it's managed very efficiently. But don't hesitate to call us for that.
Yeah. Nevertheless, from Alpega, we have Tenderizy, which is a full tendering platform, and which is used by many customers around the globe. So you can also check what Tenderizy is doing. It's really an easy solution and not very expensive solution, to be honest. Okay. Thank you. I think we are on time. Obviously, if you have any more question, you will have our key contact and your key emails. Don't hesitate to ask some question or to engage new discussion. If you would like to have more details, we are fully here for this one. Really, thank you for your attention. Be aware that you will receive an email if you would like to see the replay or share this replay with your finally colleague. It should be also useful to do it. And we wish you a great day today. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Bye, Leon.
Thank you very much, Benoit. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.